I've been playing Eldar Seer Council and various versions of it for a couple years now, and I've done pretty well with it, so I'm known for that. Um, I mean, Eldar in general, they've gained a lot, they've lost a lot. I'd say that they've gained some diversity in their psychic powers, especially for the council in general. They have they're open to more trees. They have more possibilities. They gain the Primaris power in addition to the one that they pick. So it's they've gained some things for psychic powers. They've gained some resiliency, I guess, in the tanks that they're harder to kill. The wave serpents are a little better in that regard, and that's the tough thing is that they're better and worse in different ways. So I think the gains are that they're more resilient for that scoring or for those tanks that they have, um, and warwalkers in general. And I think that they've diversified their psychic ability. So small buffs. I'm sorry, you're breaking up. I can't hear you too well. Well, the specifically the council list, the Seer Council list, and the Beast Pack list, they've lost that the. I mean, looking forward into the game, you can think that psychic armies on psychic armies are going to have an interesting battle now because they're not going to be able to be as resilient as they were. They're more temperamental than they used to be. In that, I know it's really hard to deny powers, but when you can deny powers, when they're critical to a Death Star success, and they can be shut down, that's dangerous. So if you consider if I'm taking this year council or the Beast Pack, I need Fortune to go off in order to be useful to anybody. Um, and so I roll 4 dice to try to guarantee that I get my, according to math, if I'm anybody that's normally and not me, I roll 4 dice, um, and I get 2 4-ups, right? Again, just basic numbers. And so my opponent then can see, all right, if they're chaos demons, like the flying monster demon army, if they are any other like the psychic choir stuff for nids, if they are centurion stars that have multiple primaris psychers in them, any mass psychic unit that's going to be generating 18 or so mastery levels a turn can just be like, all right, well, I'm going to dump all 18 at this, and then he can deny probably with 2 or 3 times my fortune. So I can't cast it again. I'm stuck there. And he can. The thing is that the advantage of that kind of denial, regardless of how difficult it is on the attack, is on the defender. So he can wait to see if there's one particular one he wants to deny. Like say if you're going against Centurion Star in a similar way, this affects Eldar the same way. But if you're going against Centurion Star, the big thing that you don't want to have them do if you have 2+ cover is to get ignores cover. So you can wait for them to roll the ignores cover and then try to throw everything that you have at it to deny that. So those things, those psychic Death Stars are going to be reduced a lot because the key powers can get botched, and you don't have a chance to retry them. So even if you have several people in your like, if I have 2 Farseers and both of them have prescience, if the first one fails it, I can't try it again on the second one. Um, so that ability to deny, however limited it is going to be drastic for armies that really rely on it for critical pieces. Yeah, I think that's where I was talking about the diversity is the strength now. So what they can do is they can roll for fortune, they can roll for shrouding from telepathy, they can roll for the +1 vulnerable save out of the sanctum tree. They can roll for conceal, which they automatically get on all 10 warlocks. So all of these things they can automatically get, and if they fail one, they can't exactly get the same one, but they can try a different one. So if they don't get conceal off, they can try shrouding. If they don't get shrouding off, though, they can try the protect. If they don't get protect, they can try the +1 invulnerable save. They can try, like you said, invisibility, which is fantastic in both combat and shooting. So yeah, there's diversity. There's redundancies that are not exactly redundancies. There's not identical redundancies, but similar. So there's some changes that are there as far as the diversity goes that I like. So we'll see how that goes. It depends completely on what you're going against in the scenario at the time. Um, but I built I mean, there's more downsides, I think, to the council and all. I think overall my initial reaction is that it kind of got a hit. Um, but the way that I built the council for my purposes was to be defensive, sort of a tanking army, very unique one for sixth edition because there weren't too many of those. So the purpose of the council was to stay alive, and what you would do is you would cast Conceal and Fortune. Um, I think those two are still the primary goes-tos. I think the two-up rerollable save is good enough. I don't think you need to stop people from make people snap fire at you. However, if that fails, I think that you can go towards invisibility. I mean, I'm not a math hammer guy, so I would if somebody wanted to crunch the numbers, you could find out what was the best combination of powers. I think Fortune, no matter what, is going to be one of them because that just increases your strength to an incredible degree. But I think you're right. I think Invisibility is probably one of the next ones. Maybe more than Conceal, maybe more than Shrouded, maybe more than Protect. I think Invisibility might help you more than any of those. I think net overall I'm behind. Because again, the whole thing was that I didn't care what was there. I could just fly out one Farseer here, one Farseer there, the council there, swooping hawks here, and I can contest all of your objectives. And even if you're hunting my troops and I have one Wind Rider squad left alive, it can hold and score an objective for myself. So I could contest the field even if you had four objectives and claim one and still get victory. So now that can't happen if they're troops that I'm trying to contest. It really forces my hand to throw Wind Riders out there, which are not really that resilient. So they're the ones that are dying throughout the course of the game. Mhm. Yeah, so Wave Serpents, I think, got better and got worse. They got better in the fact of scoring now, which is huge because you can have something that's that fast, that mobile, that able and resilient to get around the day quickly. And they come with the Dire Avenger, which is hey, a free scoring, a free scoring unit that has objective secured, and as do the Wave Serpents. So they got better in that regard. I think they ultimately got worse, despite the fact that tanks got more resilient. And the reason why I say that is because the Jink requires them to snap fire, and the making killing them harder, it doesn't really matter to Serpent's gimmick because the 2+ Serpent Shield, which makes it drop down to a glancing hit instead of penetrating it. So Serpents, I think, gain advantage that they now have objectives secured in addition to scoring, and they come with two. Like each one of those troops choices comes with two scoring units, whereas Wind Riders come with one. Um, that was my big difference between choosing Wind Riders over Wave Serpents is that they could be anywhere on the table and they were scoring. Now those tanks can be anywhere on the table and they're scoring, and they can leave a scoring unit behind while they contribute to the game with killing power. So I think Wave Serpents might have taken the place of Wind Riders in some ways, not in all ways, but in some. Right. Yeah, it's really quite interesting. And you really got to figure out how it's going to work out with. I haven't really checked up on everything too well because we've been doing a lot of stuff, but um, something that you can consider again is that you can get, I think, Vect has the armor level 13 greater. Um, so if you can get like a squad of Dark Reapers in that unit and they're relentless, how does that interact? I'm not quite sure, but if you, I think there's ways that you could probably pull off some shenanigans with that idea of being able to get an open top vehicle to carry around people to shoot, and that might be moving with speed a squad of Dark Reapers around the table to get those shots off. Honestly, I don't. At least not at first glance. I mean, Eldar with the allies that they've had in the past really are fairly complete. They have most of what they need. Um, I mean, you could take a guard blob if you want mass bodies for resiliency. You could take Dark Eldar if you want the mass shooting for different ways. I mean, FMC demons is kind of interesting because they're just really strong, but by and large, I hate them, so I would never use them. Um, And yeah, I don't know that there's anything they really would want to get. Especially, I know you don't care about fluff, but the idea of allying with Slanesh just makes me very upset. So I couldn't stomach it. Right. Yeah. Really not. I mean, the only thing that it does do is it forces the Seer Council build to be Eldar Dark Eldar or Eldar Eldar, which is again the two things that I do want to talk about is that the whether or not you can get several combined arms detachments in tournaments is going to be a big deal, and how you go first is going to be a big deal for Eldar Council. So side notes for those two. But if you can get multiple of your own combined detachments, then getting multiple Eldar units going Eldar and Eldar will be a huge buff. And Eldar Dark Eldar is the other option for the council. So I think losing the option of being Eldar Tau for council um, is a minor loss because most people weren't running it anyway. I think Matt Schuckman might have been the only guy who was running it, as far as I'm aware. The Eldar Tau version of it. Yeah, I think what it does do is I mean, you've always seen when I get fortune half of the time, a 1 in 6 with 6 shots and I get it 50%. So I'll be grateful to have more Farseers. One thing that it does do though is that it really gives you diversity for your deployment, for your build. And what I mean by that is, you know how I always love combat squads because you can choose to be the most efficient per game. Um, what you can do is you can, in a mission where it's advantageous to do so, you can split up all of the Farseers and all of the Warlocks into different Windrider squads, and then you have all of those really resilient 2+ cover save units that can fly around the table and contribute. So in a game where that's necessary, you can do that. And in a game where, like, say, Relic, and the thing is, because all of those units have objective secured, so you add the objective secured category when you need to. And when it's like a Relic game, you can just unite them all together and have a really kick butt unit still that can jump out there and be like, I have the Relic, do something about it. Um, so that kind of diversity, you get all those extra Farseers and all those extra units, and they can just split up between all of them, despite detachment. Sure. The change, in case you're not aware, is that it's when you win the roll to go first or to deploy first, you choose to deploy you choose who deploys first, and then the opposite player deploys second. But the player who deployed first can decide to go first or second after everybody has deployed. Um, so the big deal for me, and don't get me wrong, I think this is a very good addition to the game. It makes it more fair and balanced, and it limits the Death Star's capacity there. One of the big reasons being is that I used to love to abuse that rule. I got the Baron. He would get +1 to go first. I would win the roll to go first and force my opponent to deploy so I could counter deploy and go first so that I could get last turn jumping on objectives. Um, so the real danger with the Seer Council is that if it's exposed in the first turn, it'll get blown away. So what I would do is force my opponent to deploy. I would counter deploy such that he couldn't reach me, and then he would he can't shoot me off. He can't take advantage of my only disadvantage, which is being vulnerable first turn, and I have all the advantage in going second with the objectives. So that change really does balance out. You have to really consider what's worth it to you because you can get counter deployed in order to have that happen. So it's more balanced for those types of armies. Sure. I think Eldar's position is pretty well secured to where it is. I think others may have risen in response to it. I think that their power level is about the same. It's different, but it's about the same. Um, I think it's more powerful in different ways. The builds will alter slightly, but I don't think they'll be incredibly drastic. They might move over towards Wraithblade stars instead for really resilient objective secured units again instead of councils and other things like that. Um, and as far as what I think I might be trying to do, a lot of that's going to depend on how the Allies matrix stays or worked out. A lot of it's going to depend on whether or not Unbound is a thing, and whether or not I can get multiple primary detach or multiple combined arms detachments. If that's the case, like you'll see, I built a list for Jesse Newton to be running later on today, and it has I think 4 Farseers, and the council, the full council on jetbikes, along with 5 Windrider squads, the Baron, and 5 Warriors, and that's in 1,500 points. So it's really quite good that you have all of that extra powers. It's like 23 mastery levels, so you'll get 30 dice to chuck at something anytime you want to. So anybody that has like one or two, like a librarian, if somebody brings like Tigurius to try to get twin linked on something, he's never going to get it off because I'm just going to be like, all right, well that's your 1 power. Here's 23 dice. Uh, so they really have a lot of psychic dominance. So I like that. But that's probably the direction that it'll go if that's allowed. Again, we're waiting on the TO, the Hallowed Council of TOs, to make a decision on whether or not that's an okay thing. Thanks, guys.